Okay, today I'm going to explain how to do a simple Unity scene using only Unity primitive objects. So these are cubes, planes, cylinders, etc. So how do we start? Let's start by doing the ground, right? So we're going to click on the hierarchy panel, right click, and select 3D objects. And here we're going to have a plane. We select it and we can put a name to it. For example, grass. Great, so here we have the grass. We can change the color of it. So how do we do this? We can create a material. We go to the project panel, right click, and create material. Good. We have to put a name to it, so we're going to put grass. And now we have to change the color. So here we go to this section, click, and just select the color we want. Now to add this material to our object, we have two options. So we can drag and drop, or we can go to the object in the hierarchy and go to the mesh render, the material section, and select here. And we can just put grass and find it. There we go. Now we can do a house. So how would we do that? We right click again and 3D object, cube. Great. These will be the walls, so we have to change the name. We're going to double click on the hierarchy and call it walls. Great. We can move the object we go to this section here, the tool to move, and just click on the arrow and move it upwards by dragging. And we can scale it. We don't want a square house. So what we can do is there are two ways to scale an object. We can go here to the transform section of the object, or we can go here, the scale tool, and just scale it. So see, the same way you can scale from the transform, you just can put numbers you want. So you can put 2 here and you scale that. I'm going to make it a little bit taller, a little bit less, and I'm going to move it a little bit upwards so it's standing on the ground. Great. Here we have a simple walls. Again, we need a color, so we're going to do a brick color, so that would be a reddish color. We're going to right click on the project panel, create material, and this we're going to call it bricks. We change the color, go a red dark color, and click, drag, and drop. Awesome. Now for the roof. We go to the hierarchy, right click, 3D objects, and we can use a plane or a cube. I'm going to use a cube this time and call it roof. So I can show you a little bit more of how to use the scaling. Using these axes, we can change the view of the camera that we are looking at. So we can just change that. So I'm going to go for the top and go to scaling and make it a little bit bigger, something like that. I'm going to move it to the left, and we're going to make it a little bit thinner. Oops, there we go. So yeah, something like that. I'm going to scale it a little bit bigger, and we're going to rotate it. How do we rotate an object? You can use the rotate tool here, or you can use rotating with the transform section. So you can rotate by the Z axis, you can rotate the Y axis. Well, I'll show you better. There you can rotate with the Y axis just like that. There. And you can rotate with the X axis. Just the same, you can rotate with this tool and just click and drag. That's the most we always use. Click and drag, and you can click on the blue one and drag. There we go. So I'm going to put this in zeros, and let's make the position we want. We'll rotate it a little like that. We'll move it where we want. Rotate it a little bit more. Also, there are fast keys. You can use W to move, to change the tool to move objects. You can use the E to change to the tool to rotate objects. And you can use the R to scale objects. There we go. Good. Now we have half of the roof. We want the other half. How do we do this? Oh yes, and you can use this square in the middle to change from a plane view to like a 3D view with a perspective. Great. Now let's make the other half of the roof. So what you can do to duplicate an object, you can click Ctrl D and it will be duplicated. Now we're going to move it where we want. We can move it a little bit on the X. So we'll just, oh, I'm rotating, sorry. Let's move it. Position, here we go. There we go. And the rotation, if you think about it, it's mirrored. So we're going to just put a minus here, and it will be rotated exactly the amount we want. And we'll move it a little bit more to the right. There we go. Okay, so here we have like a simple house. We can make them a little bit. There we go. Awesome. So something you can do is in the hierarchy, you can make objects move together. So I would want the roof to be a one object, right? So what we can do is select both of them and right click over them, and we can create an empty parent. So this, what permits you to do is you can just move the whole object together, right? We're going to move it a little bit there, we center it, and we're going to call this like the main all roof. And the same we want with the house, I bet. So we're going to want the walls and the roof to move together. So we can select them both, right click, create empty parent, and we can call this the house. Well, lastly, we want to add a color to the roof. I would say a grayish color. So we go to the project panel, create, material, roof. We change it to a grayish color. There we go. And drag and drop, drag and drop. And that's how you do a simple Unity scene.